This lecture is about bus structure. In this lecture, we will discuss how different components of our computer system, that are registers, memory, index registers, ALU, control unit, and the other components are interconnected with each other. So we will have a brief discussion about the interconnectivity, how these components are connected with each other, and during program execution, we discussed instruction fetch and instruction execution process. Uh, we will also discuss the program execution uh, with the help of this bus structure. So the figure shows a bus structure for a simple computer. This bus structure is realized by recognizing two operands which are required for arithmetic operations using the arithmetic unit of the simple computer. So each operand will be on a bus. That is, we will have three buses: bus number two and bus number one and bus number two. They will be the feeding component, or they will be used as input buses for the arithmetic unit, that is ALU, and the arithmetic unit will generate the output with the help of another bus, that will be bus number 3. So for transfers that do not involve any arithmetic operations, there will be two direct paths which will be assumed through the arithmetic unit. So these paths will be either transferred through bus number 1 to bus number 3, or they will be transferred from bus number 2 to bus number 3. The data enters a register at the rising edge of the clock. The clock and all other required control signals to select source and destination registers, which will be used during a bus transfer, are generated by the control unit. So we are saying about the rising edge of the clock. How we can explain the rising edge of the clock? Let's suppose we have a clock signal that is represented in this form. There are different number of clock pulses in this clock signal. So whenever the clock, it tend to rise up in this direction, so that is the rising edge of the clock. When the clock starts rising from the minimum value towards the maximum value, that is the rising edge of the clock. We'll also have a falling edge of the clock. So if the clock starts its position from a maximum value and it moves towards the minimum value, so that is the falling edge of the clock, or a falling edge of the pulse. So we have two types. One is the falling rising edge, and the other is the falling edge. The other possible configuration of the clock pulse is high level and low level. We have a high level of the clock pulse that is represented at that peak. When the clock is on its peak position, that is known as the high level, and it is also represented by 1. If a clock is at it is as is at its minimum position, so this clock is having a minimum value, so that will be the low level of the clock, and it will be represented by 0. So what we are saying in this sentence, that the clock and all the other required control signals which will be used to select source and destination registers during a bus transfer are generated by the control unit, and each of the control signal will be generated at the rising edge of the clock. So rising edge of the clock will be used in our control signal generation, or whenever data enters a register, so it will also use the rising edge of the clock. So clock pulse will be must used in our data transfer. So in this bus structure, we will be having a clock pulse which will be linked with the data transfer and the control signal generation. So the figure 5.3 is showing a detailed bus structure of the simple computer. Here we have connected different components, memory modules, registers with each other with the help of different buses. So before starting this figure, we want to discuss different types of buses. We have three types of buses. The first one is known as data bus. A data bus is composed of different data lines. So we can say that different data lines are combined to form a data bus. So this is first bus that can be used, and through this bus data can be transferred, moved from one component, one memory location, one register to the other register or memory location. The second is the address bus. Address bus is composed of different address lines, or we can say that different address lines are combined to form address bus. So addresses of the memory locations, registers or memory components are transferred through these address lines, and these address lines are combined to form address bus. At third level we have a control bus. Control bus is composed of control lines, or we can say that different control lines are combined to form a control bus. So the control signals that are generated from the control unit, these are generated from the control unit. These control signals generated from the control unit are transferred, moved from the control unit with the help of control bus or control lines. So now we will discuss this figure. This figure is showing a complete bus structure for our 16-bit computer system. We all know that first, whenever instruction fetch process is being executed, or instruction fetch process is being discussed, the PC will have the address of the first instruction. So PC is connected with the bus 1 through this bus, and we know that from PC address is transferred to MAR of the first address of the first instruction is transferred from PC to the MAR. So PC is connected with MAR via bus number 1 and bus number 3, that is the connectivity of PC and MAR. So in instruction fetch process we know that when the address of instruction is given from PC to MAR, a memory read operation is performed. The address of the memory location is accessed, which is in the MAR. Address is stored in an MAR. From MAR, the address is fetched and a memory read operation is performed. So if it is instruction fetch process, then the instruction from memory will be transferred to MBR. From memory, the instruction will be transferred to MBR, and from MBR, the instruction will be transferred to IR. So MBR is connected to the bus number one, bus number 2, and this data in the form of instruction will be transferred from MBR via bus number 2 and then bus number 3 to the instruction register. So in instruction fetch process, PC will have the address of the instruction, This address will be transferred to MAR. Then a memory read operation will be performed. The instruction will be transferred to MBR, and MBR will transfer the instruction to IR. That is the instruction fetch process. In instruction execution process, whatever instruction we are going to execute, different modules or memory location or arithmetic logic unit can be used for the instruction execution process. Let's suppose we are using instruction LDA. So in instruction LDA, data is copied or data is moved from memory to the accumulator. So if we are using instruction LDA Z, so Z will be a register, a memory location, which is going to send data to the accumulator. So in instruction execution process, when MAR will be given the address of Z register, a memory read operation will be performed. When a memory read operation will be performed, Z register will be accessed. Whatever data stored in the Z, it will be transferred to MBR, and from MBR it will be then transferred to the accumulator. So accumulator is connected with the MBR via bus number 2. So that path will be used for data transferring from MBR to the accumulator. And also accumulator is connected with the help of bus number 1 to the ALU, arithmetic and logic unit. Also a accumulator is connected to PSR, that is processor status register. We all know that processor status register is a 5-bit register which will show the status of the register during or after the execution of instructions. So it is a 5-bit register which has 5 different bits in the form of carry, negative, 0, overflow, and interrupt bits. So these bits will be 1 or these will be 0 depending upon the status of the processor. So accumulator is also connected with the PSR, and this PSR is also connected to the control unit. So on the basis of the status of the processor, control unit will generate different signals depending upon the status of the processor. At the right side of the figure, we have 3 index registers: index register 1, index register 2, and index register 3. We have discussed in detail how these index registers are selected. We know that there are 16 bits in the instruction format. We have total number of 16 bits in the instruction format. In this 16 bits, bit number 8 and bit number 9 are for the index register selection. We have 2 bits for the selection of index register. So these index register will be selected with the help of these 2 bits. If the status of these bits are 00, then there will be no index register selection. If it is 01, then index register 1 will be selected. If it is 10, then index register 2 will be selected. And if it is 11, then index register 3 will be selected. So index registers will be selected with the help of bit number 8 and bit number 9. Uh, we have arithmetic and logic unit, which will be responsible for the arithmetic and logical operations. Different instructions related to arithmetic and logical uh, operation will be performed in this unit. At left hand side, we are having two devices. One is output device and the other one is input device. This input device is connected directly with the accumulator, and the output device is also connected with the accumulator. These input and output devices are connected with the accumulator through a bus which is 16 bit of length. We also know that data transferred will be of 16 bit of length. So if accumulator is giving data to the output device, it will be transferred from data output lines. DOL stands for data output lines. And if any input device wants to communicate, transfer data to the accumulator, data will be transferred through data input lines, and these data input lines will be also of 16 bit of length. We are also having a control unit which will be connected with arithmetic logic unit. Here we are showing different control signals which are generated from the control unit. These are different control signals which are generating from the control unit. This control unit is connected with the arithmetic and logical unit. So different control signals depending upon the instruction type will be generated from the control signals from the control unit, and these control signals will be transferred to the arithmetic and logical unit with the help of different control lines. So these control signals will be add, complement, left, shift right, depending upon the instructions. All the control unit will be generated. So this is our detailed bus structure of a 16-bit computer. We will also having uh, here we are giving 1 to the bus number 2. This one is for the increment of program counter. During the instruction fetch process, program counter will be incremented by 1. So this one will be given to the program counter uh, through bus number 2, and via bus number 3 it will be transferred to the program counter. Now we are going to discuss add operation. The figure shows detailed bus transfer for the add operation. In figure A, we are having a bus transfer circuit for the add operation, and in the second figure we are having a timing diagram. So the control signals that are accumulator to bus 1 and MBR to bus 2, both are for the selection of accumulator and MBR as a source register or as an input register for bus number 1 and bus number 2 respectively. So bus number 1 and bus number 2 will be used for input source, and bus number 3 will be used for the output source. The result operation generated by the ALU will be transferred through bus number 3. So the control unit will generate control signal add, which will enable the add operation in the ALU, and the signal bus 3 to accumulator will select accumulator as the destination for bus number 3. So how it is done, we will discuss in the next slide in detail how this add operation is performed with the help of bus structure. So all these signals which are generated from the control unit are active at the same time. Either a high level will be used or low level of the clock pulse will be used, or rising edge of the clock pulse will be used, or falling edge of the clock pulse will be used. So we have the option to use any one of these four configurations. So in this case we use rising edge of the clock to generate the different clock signals. So all the control signals will be active uh, at the same clock pulse at the same time. The data enters the accumulator at the rising edge of the clock pulse, after which the control signal will become inactive. So how it is done, we will have a look in the next slide. So this is the timing diagram of the add operation. Uh, Definitely there will be a clock pulse through which all the control signals will be linked. So we have a first clock signal, we have a first control signal, that is accumulator to bus 1. Accumulator to bus 1, whenever this clock signal is active, that is whenever at a high level of the clock pulse for the accumulator to bus 1 signal, the data from accumulator to bus 1 will be shifted or transferred or moved when this signal is high. So accumulator will transfer data to bus 1, or accumulator will give data to bus 1 if clock signal, if control signal accumulator to bus 1 is high, that is in this position. The second control signal is MBR to bus 2. MBR will give data to bus 2 whenever the control signal MBR to bus 2 will be high. So we have different control signals. First is accumulator to bus 1, the second is MBR to bus 2, and the third control signal will be add signal. Whenever both data from accumulator and MBR is reached to ALU, arithmetic and logic unit, so add control signal will be active, and whenever the add control signal is active or activated, both data from accumulator and MBR will be summed or added, and the control signal 4, that is bus number 3 to accumulator, will be responsible to transfer data from ALU to the accumulator. So if we say that uh, bus number 1 is connected to accumulator and bus number 2 is connected to MBR, so input data will be transferred through accumulator and MBR. That is, we are adding data of MBR and accumulator, and in ALU both of the data, that is accumulator and MBR, are added, and whatever result is generated, it is transferred through bus number 3. So we have four control signals. First is for accumulator to bus 1, the second is MBR to bus 2, the third is add, and the fourth control signal is bus 3 to accumulator. All of these control signals will be generated from the control unit. So that is the circuit diagram of the add operation. We are giving data of MBR to bus 2 and accumulator to bus 1. So whenever the control signal of MBR to bus 1 is high, data will be shifted from MBR to bus 2. If this signal is low, then this buffer or this gate will resist or will block data for going to the towards the bus number 2. So whenever the clock signal, the control signal MBR to bus 2 is high, data will be flow from MBR to bus 2. Similarly, when control signal accumulator to bus 1 is high, then data from accumulator will be transferred or shifted to bus 1. So both data will be entered into the ALU, arithmetic logic unit. When the third signal is high, that is the add signal, both the data will be added, result will be generated, and this result will then be stored to the accumulator via bus 3. So bus 3 to accumulator signal is high. Whenever bus 3 to accumulator signal control signal is high, this data will be entered to the accumulator. So in this way, we can perform add operation with the help of our bus structure, and uh, we can use this bus structure for any of the instruction sets or for any of the instructions that are discussed earlier. So all the 16 instructions can be represented with the help of this bus structure, and we can use the bus structure for all of the 16 instructions. So this was the discussion of the bus structure. We have discussed in detail different components that are connected with each other with the help of bus structure. And later on, we discuss an add operation for the add instruction, how many control signals will be generated from the control unit, and how these control signals are connected with the clock, and how the circuit will work for the add